relax. Let go of describing your experience. Relax. Use your breath. Take that very relaxed vibe and be vigilant about maintaining that very relaxed vibe as we continue through this show. And leverage your breath as a tool to bring you back to this very relaxed, peaceful, and joyful state throughout your days. Earlier today, I posted almost 40 of these graphics. To Instagram, and as these little aphorisms and laconic, compressed distillations of our nature come through like this, I will create an accompanying video like this where we further unpack the graphics in more detail. As you can tell, this one is titled Avoid Void, which is another way to say infinity and nothingness, which is what the mystic traditions have pointed to for millennia about the nature of reality. And it is currently at the center of the graphics, as you can see, which we will get to unpacking that in more detail. So we'll go ahead and we'll start unpacking these graphics, which in essence are, like we've been doing in the direct path videos on our channel, all we are doing is pointing to the same one end from the different faces. We're just dressing it up differently. We're saying it in a different way. And it's all to help the confused seeker recognize their true nature. So in this graphic, we say, you cannot hide from me. You are me. You are inescapable divinity. In this case, what we mean when we say the capital M, me, or when you say the capital S, self, we are referring to God. We are referring to the absolute. We are referring to source. We are referring to Tao. We are referring to Brahman. So you cannot hide from me, as in you are already me. You are already the absolute. You are always already free. That is your true nature. This is the absolute. And yet it is up to you to recognize it. And typically what happens to those that don't recognize it is that the mind toils them around from suffering to suffering. They get intoxicated by Maya, by the illusion, by Lakshmi with a fishing line, drawing them around from experience to substance to relationship, trying to extract peace and happiness from the world rather than recognizing that their very nature is peace and happiness. Which is why the Rumi quote goes, you go from room to room looking for the diamond that is already around your neck. You cannot hide from me. You are me. You are inescapable divinity. Everything is unconditional celebration. Dun 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 hey dun 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 hey dun 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 hey dun 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 hey hey bum bum bum. Right? Can you really let that become your vibration? Can you let that become the radiance? Can you become the sun? Endlessly, effortlessly, emanating love, light, peace, warmth, joy, bliss, prosperity, wellness, abundance. Can you let that very relaxed state, the very peaceful, joyful, dancing state, become your baseline, become your norm? That is what we mean when we say natural state. And so that very unconditional celebration is exactly what the noisy mind prevents people from hearing. That very unconditional celebration is the music. It's the very background nectar. It's the very undercurrent of unity. But if the mind is noisy, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, go to that, I'm feeling so depressed, I'm feeling so anxious, I gotta run to this thing, I gotta run to that thing, I don't know if I'm gonna make it on time, I have to pay for this, I have to pay for that, oh my god, I have that calendar appointment in a week, I don't know if I'm gonna get on a vacation this year, I don't know, I have to pay for insurance right now, oh my god, not another red light, oh my gosh, that person cut me off. That is the noisy mind. See the difference? Relaxation, peace, joy, bliss, versus anxiety and being toiled around incessantly by the mind. That mind that's being toiled around will never hear that sweet, omnipresent nectar background music that's always present. It's always here. It's the very undercurrent of existence, of reality, of the natural state, is the unconditional celebration. And we have to recognize that when you have these many different layers in understanding the nature of reality, you have both the this is the absolute, you're already the absolute, you're already it, you're already enlightened. And yet, when somebody's experiencing that state of the noisy mind, this is what we typically call stream entry is necessary. This is what is needed in order for somebody to recognize their true blissful, peaceful, enlightened already nature, is to become the witness, become the observer, become the subtle awareness in which the clouds of thoughts and emotions and beliefs and perceptions and sensations appear and disappear. And so to get to that stage, when you're in the very noisy mind, there is a gym repetition to do. And the gym repetition is to become more and more subtly aware of awareness itself. Oh, following a thought cloud, boop, back to the sky, back to awareness. Boop, following another emotional cloud, boop, back to the sky, back to awareness. Leverage the breath. And as you do that more and more often, you will recognize that this is the unconditional celebration already, ever present and free and creative and om. But when you're in the state of the noisy mind, it sounds like totally playing out of tune in the symphony. These beautiful 8 billion units in the symphony on this planet are mwah. Yet it's very clear that there are those being toiled by mind, and there are those that are very om. And so those are the gym repetitions, is to move closer and closer towards the unconditional celebration that you already are, yet it remains for you to recognize it. So this is where simultaneity is really mission critical, where you have both of those at the same time, which is that there's nothing to seek because you are already it, the absolute, and yet at the same time there is something to seek, which is these gym repetitions to become more and more subtly aware of awareness itself, rather than being toiled by the mind. And then you recognize that awareness is shared and awareness is eternal. And that I am the source that even uses awareness as its first attribute in order to experience reality. Complete surrender to the divine unfolding of the perfection we already are. So, relaxation is another way to talk about surrender. When you take a macro level view of the planet and of the evolution and the very natural secretion of the 10 million existing species on the planet, you take that macro level view and you see a very surrendered divine secretion unfolding of the planetary evolution. We are that. That is humans. And so now you see the difference between when you're vibrating at the Om, you're like a flower effortlessly blossoming towards the sun, versus when you're in the, when the mind is toiling you around, that is very non-harmonic. That is very distorted. That is very twisted. That has a layer of attachment to the identity, to the form, to the separation, to Maya seeking peace and happiness from the world. The very nature of most of the mind toiling, that very suffering, can be healed, can have a shift into alignment by doing those gym repetitions of becoming more and more subtly aware of awareness itself, leveraging the breath, which the mystics and the yogis have talked about for millennia. Leverage the breath. Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. As Patanjali said, union with God or the Absolute is simply the cessation of the fluctuations of mind. Take that very mind toiling and leverage the breath to have that cessation of the fluctuations of mind, and then you become more relaxed, and then this surrender to the very divine unfolding of the perfection becomes the natural baseline state. It's that simple. You're already it. If you know your true nature, you are effortlessly, harmonically aligned. By knowing your true nature, you know that these other costumes of these 8 billion total units on this planet are you. You know that the one intelligence is all of these costumes. Therefore, you know as the one intelligence that the other costumes are you. Therefore, when you know yourself, you do not commit malevolence. Therefore, you know that the optimal is to be in service to others because you are in service to yourself. And we work on that process in purifying where we're coming from so that we refine our ability to be in true service. and that we refine all of those onion layers that we were previously attached to, form and identity and ego, extracting peace and happiness from Maya, and we work on the purifying so that we no longer have those distortions and twists, and therefore we are completely aligned with that one infinite creator, the very nature of our reality, and become in service to others in this ascensionary process. So as we were doing at the beginning, and hopefully throughout, not only the show, but throughout your days, leveraging the breath for a few seconds, drop all attributes, drop describing your experience, drop symbolization itself. When you have the absolute absence of symbolization, of describing, and of attributes, what is left? Simply your very naked nature, which is I am. The very fact that I am, just like in Exodus 3:14, I am that I am, is God. The very naked nature is God. You are that. And then we add all these layers to our onion and become attached and identified with them, and that's where all of the kinks, the twists, the distortions arise. And we become attached to them, and our whole identity becomes about other costumes validating our layers of onion. Even the Atlas costume, on a daily basis, goes through the process of continuing to refine and purify where he's coming from. To truly know oneself is to be hyper vigilant about every single frame of one's existence. Are you coming from a place of a distortion or a twist or a kink in that I am, where you're filling the need for a self gratification, that I need someone to validate me? I am currently judging that somebody else has something that I don't have, rather than beautifully accepting that firework exactly as it is, and beautifully accepting your own firework exactly as it is. Go back to the very process of relaxing over and over again during your day as these gym repetitions, relaxing your perspective, your point of view, leveraging the breath to sink inward, become hyper aware of consciousness, of awareness, of observation, of witnessing itself. And as you do that, you will recognize the I am. The very fact that you are naked is God. That is God. Then all of these additional layers of identity and distortion and twist. Peel them back. Peel them back. Ooh. Fuck, this puzzle is hard. What is I? Ah, yes. All is love, light, Leela. This is a fun graphic. It's another way to describe the parable of the prodigal son. It's very cute when you can reflect on the process, the trajectory, the journey, the dance, where you so ignorantly were in this puzzle, the very puzzleless puzzle, the very lockless escape room. Ah, this is so hard. What do I do? How do I find peace and happiness? Do I find it from 9-to-5 job? Do I find it from 30-year mortgage? Obviously, no. And so that's the parable of the prodigal son, when as you're trying to extract peace and happiness from substances and experiences and relationships, I will find a significant other and they will make me happy. Sounds pretty ridiculous, right? You hit a breaking point. Suffering catalyzes it. It's the drill sergeant of awakening. It's one of our best tools that we use. Ego, suffering. This is the best tool we use to actually create this turn inward from those onion layers inward. And as we go inward, the top question that we ask is, what is I? What is I? And as we do this process, Atma Vichara, the very self-inquiry itself that enables us to dissolve said egoic layers to the onion as we go inward to the very formlessness of awareness, consciousness, witnessing, observation itself. Very similar to St. Francis of Assisi. That which you seek is the seer. You are seeking the seer itself. Become more and more subtly aware of these very profound metaphysical truths. They are your rare candies. They are your ways to go, Super Saiyan. Become more subtly aware of you are seeking the seer, and do the gym repetitions to become more and more subtly aware of awareness, of consciousness, of observation, of witnessing itself. And you'll become more and more subtly aware that the very nature of that awareness is peace and joy. And you stop trying to extract it from the world, and rather you become more and more like the sun. Which is why when you come to the revelation, yes, you recognize your true nature. That is when you remember all is love, light, Leela. I am the one infinite creator. I am the one intelligence. I am source. I am God. I am Brahman. I am Tao. And all of this is my love, light, Leela. Leela, Sanskrit for the divine play. This is all the very divine play of my love light in this planetary ascensionary dream with 8 billion units in a civilization figuring out how to maximize their potential. I dig many holes, then dig myself out. All holes and digging are illusion. I am funny. Hee hee. As you remember, we mentioned earlier the very lockless escape room that is analogous to this hole. So I dig the one infinite creator through all of these costumes, digs all of these holes for itself, aka the lockless escape rooms, and then we dig ourselves out, aka unlock the lockless locks of that said escape room, and in that process we recognize that the very holes and digging was an illusion, that the whole time we were always already free. And that's why we're so funny. The nature of reality is hilarious. And this was on another recent post we made, that you're on an endless river and the river is an illusion. You're fucking hilarious. Again, that's trying to signal the very nothingness and infinitude simultaneously. I bet I can't do a creation where I forget so intensely that I kill 100 million people in 100 years. Bet. Boom. When you look at the 20th century, that was our will. That was our choice. Our very decision in this dreamed creationary ascension to experience what it is like where we forget our true nature so intensely that we kill 100 million people. A 100 million of our own costumes. We forgot that intensely. And this is where the quotes come. When the roots reach hell, the branches, the fruits can reach heaven. The ascent and the descent happen simultaneously. Around 1945, you get both the nuclear weapon and you get LSD. In 2008, you get the financial recession and you get Bitcoin and decentralization. We are the creators. We are that which made the decision to experience the very catastrophic 20th century. We are also the creators of the 21st century. We are the very creators of the 2020s themselves, where we can amplify the things that maximize human potential, that enable the maximal fireworking of every single one of our unique expressions of infinity. And that is what pure service to others is when you're truly trying from a very pure place to maximize the potential of civilization. And then think creatively. What's next? We've come from eternity, and eternity is where we're continuing to go. What other crazy, cool, fun, forgetful, intense creations will we design with completely different vehicles of awareness, with completely different civilizational dynamics, with completely different universes that may not even be planets orbiting stars, may not even be physics, math, biology, the code of life that we have. Completely radically different. It may not be a 3 space with 1 time. Architecturally, the possibilities are limitless. That's your true nature. You are the source of infinite possibility. That is your true nature. And when you know that, joy and peace sets in. That is the natural state. We, all of the endless possibilities. What is enlightenment? The infinite fountain of bliss that you already are. As we just described, once you unlock the lockless lock, you recognize that I've been the infinite fountain of bliss this whole time. It was just obscured by this very toiling mind that was perpetuating my suffering by having me seek peace and happiness externally rather than turn inward to recognize the nature of awareness itself. Occasionally, clap once loudly. Deepen awareness of the now and stretch it out to the entire universe. This is ineffable perfection. Again, a very simple activity. Occasionally, clap once loudly, and as you do, tap in to the now at a deeper level and stretch out that ineffable perfection to the whole universe. So clap, and then watch that reverberation at the level of the universe. Ineffable perfection after ineffable perfection after ineffable perfection. Leverage activities like that. They're really fun. And they really help the deepening and the abiding. It's pretty fun to make definitions. We can use symbolization to help us better directly point to our true nature and more easily help other costumes with their confusion and their seeking to fulfill it by doing said process of defining spirituality as realignment with the one heart. One's very ability to go from the mind toiling, seeking peace and happiness externally, attachment to these onion layers of identity and form and validation, and to be able to recognize that the very process of the cessation of the fluctuations of the toiling mind enable me to become more and more aware of awareness itself, which then very effortlessly makes me aware of the diamond that was already around my neck, the well of honey that was covered by this rockless rock. And then I feel that well of honey of peace and joy. Spirituality is realigning oneself to the already present peace and joy. It's the realigning to the very knowledge that I am the creator. That all of these costumes are my very creation. And that all is my love light that is at play. There is no unsafety. There is no victimhood. That is just the toiling mind that is making the distorted declarations that it is unsafe. That it needs validation, that it has lack, that it needs peace and happiness from a watch or from a 30-year mortgage or from a relationship or a substance. Spirituality is the ultimate script, the ultimate algorithm, the ultimate process that transcends all of those other sticky processes, that then enables one to undergo the process of that game-changing final realignment to the true nature and then become in pure service, aligned with God's love light Leela, feeling the radiant warmth of the sun, peace and joy, and butterflying that out to all costumes. And that's why it's the one heart. It's the one intelligence. And that's what spirituality is. I am that which is constantly in delusion about my unity. I am the one infinite creator. I am source. I am God's love light that is at play in perpetual delusion of my own true unity. When the mind is toiling us around in those egoic onion layers seeking peace and happiness externally, is that not absolute delusion? And so that very process of endless forgetting to remember, of endless hide and seek, that very endless process of venturing outward, hitting the wall like in the parable of the prodigal son, catalyzed by suffering as the drill sergeant of awakening, the forcing function to turn inward to become aware of awareness itself as peace and joy, and become aware of oneself as the creator of awareness and of the reality. That very process is the nature of reality. But you are beyond the coming and going. You are beyond the birth and death. You are beyond the nothingness and the infinitude. You are this indescribable perfection. I am that which vibrates between void and infinity. That very nothingness, void, shunya, and the very infinite, eternal, fireworking, individuation, endless form, endless costumes, endless realities, endless creations, endless Leela. You are that which is the Om vibratory between that. That is you. You are the nothing. You are the everything. You flow in between both, and you are beyond that. I am that which is a creative forcing function between void and infinity. The very nature of you as source is infinite possibility. That is your very nature. You are infinite possibility if you truly knew what eternity was, if you truly knew what infinity was. If you truly knew that, you would relax into the peace and joy of being a Gnostic being, of knowing that truly. But when you don't know eternity, when you don't know infinity, when you don't know yourself as that, the source of infinite possibilities, the very creative forcing function that endlessly gives rise to these gorgeous realities of love, light, Leela, with all of these unique forms and unique costumes at play with itself. When you don't know that, that's when the mind toils you around incessantly. Know thyself. On the top of the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, the number one Delphic maxim, 2 words: know thyself. Know thyself. Know thyself. Know thyself as the source of infinite possibility. Know thyself as the very creative forcing function between that nothingness and everythingness. You are that. Avoid void. When you put an A in front of void, It's the opposite of void. What's the opposite of void? What's the opposite of nothingness? What's the opposite of shunya? It is infinity. It is eternity. It is endless creation. It is the very individuated fireworking that is this creation. It is the very love light Leela that is at play with itself in this creation. That is what a void is. So you're avoiding void, avoiding void, avoiding void. Infinitude nothingness, infinitude nothingness. And these ultimately collapse into one, into the very ineffable perfection of this. And the more that you know how to just relax into that, where you drop the attributes, you drop the describing, drop the symbolization, and just melt, relax, surrender, and begin feeling the joy and the peace of just I am. And those are the gym repetitions. Those are the gym repetitions. I am that which avoids void. Avoids void. I am that which endlessly creates infinite possibility in avoidance of nothingness and emptiness. I am that which uses smoke and mirrors in delusion of my love light unity. I am that which uses the illusion that we've described throughout the show, where the mind is toiling one around endlessly, seeking peace and happiness externally in relationships, substances, experiences. I am that which uses that very smoke and mirrors, that very delusional, illusional process for my play, for my very love, light, unity, Leela, divine play. That's the forgetting. That's the hiding. That's the remembering. That's the seeking. It's the coolest thing. The one infinite creator can veil itself. The veilless veil. It can walk back through the gateless gate. There was never a gate, there was never a veil, there was never a maze, there was never an escape room, and yet it very much so feels like there was a veil, there was a gate, there was a lock, there was an escape room. That's the fucking coolest feature. And to know yourself as that which creates that feature is so cool. You're not a victim to the creation. You're not a victim to your individuated firework of infinity. You are the creator of the creation. You are the creator of the firework of infinity. As Siddharameshwar and Nisargadatta said, as you think, so you are. Are you the creator or are you the victim? Gym repetition yourself away from the victim, towards the creator, towards the subtlety of the awareness, towards the subtlety of that which creates even awareness in the realities, and you will regain that spiritual mass. You will regain the very will and choice and sovereignty that makes your individuated firework radiate like the love and light of the sun. No infinity and no me. I am appearing as endless costumes. The more that you truly know and take beyond just the tastes and the glimpses of infinity, but truly become anchored in that realization, the more that you recognize that you are that which appears as the endless costumes. You are literally the costume generator itself. I am the source of infinite possibility. I am the costume generator. I am the form generator. I am the creation generator. I am the love light Leela at play with itself generator. And I'll never come to the end of all of my playful exploration. Everything we do is to avoid the nothingness that we are. And we had a great clip on our channel from the second round interview with Frank Yang, Eternal Bra. This one was called after our first one, called Infinite Bra. And Frank and I had a strong dialectic in the second one where we were able to really hone in on a lot of the most powerful analogies and essences of the natural state, of the nature of reality. And so there's a clip on our channel with this very title, and I highly recommend watching that. And Frank's been a very instrumental role on my recognizing, on my awakening as well. Transcend beyond. Transcend beyond what? Go beyond, beyond, beyond. Beyond what? Beyond being and not being. Beyond the absolute and the relative. Beyond birth and death. Beyond mystery and knowing. Beyond here and there, beyond time and timelessness, beyond space and spacelessness, beyond unreal and real, beyond unmanifested and manifested, beyond nothing and everything, beyond void and infinity, beyond dream and reality, beyond natural and unnatural, beyond permanence and impermanence, beyond ego and enlightenment, beyond nirvana and samsara, beyond this ineffable perfection. Your own thought process keeps you from seeing your already perfection. Your very toiling mind itself is what keeps you from seeing your already perfection. Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Use the breath to regain spiritual mass, to create the pause, to distance oneself from that toiling mind towards the relaxation into awareness of awareness itself. And recognize the diamond of the peace and happiness that you already are. Creation is entheogenic. Entheogen means unleashing God within, unleashing the divine within. It's the entire point, healing delusion that never was. All is the absolute, even the very distorted, egoic, contracted energy of the onion layers of seeking peace and happiness externally. Even that is the absolute. Now, is it distorted away from what is the eradication of the suffering? Yes, absolutely. It itself is suffering. It's catalyzing suffering for not only the costume, but for the family around them, for the friends around them, for the coworkers, for the community, and for the world. And to undergo the process of healing that delusion that never was is spirituality, which is the realignment itself with the one heart. And that is the entire point, which is recognizing the very entheogenic nature of your reality, which is the kingdom of God is within me. Luke 17:21. The kingdom of God is within you. The kingdom of God's within you. Tattvam asi. You are that. I am that. We are that. The absolute. I and my Father are one. John 10:30. The mystic traditions, the yogis, the aphorisms, the retreats, the books, they all point to the same one end. Many paths, one end. The very nature of our creation is gorgeously entheogenic. And that's why when you take magic mushrooms, LSD, ayahuasca, 5-MeO DMT, when you partake in the entheogens, you become hyper aware to the very nature of your reality. You become aware of yourself as the absolute. And then when you come down, you wonder, how do I rebaseline myself to that state again? You already are it. Take these little hacks as the gym repetitions to become more and more subtly aware of awareness, of the very formlessness, of the very creatorness that you are. And then you don't need to rely on entheogens. Rather, your nature is entheogenic. Every one of these very inhalations is ecstasy for the trained adept, for that which is self-aware. Truly, they feel the ecstasy in those very breaths, in that very prana, the very life force itself. Ego was lie. Child was never unsafe. All is God. The very mind toiling us around, feeling unsafety because of some sort of traumatic childhood experience, all of that contracted energy itself, feeling unsafe in your very own creation, was a lie. You were safe the whole time. You are what created the lockless escape room for yourself. You were never unsafe. The very perversions and twists and distortions themselves were a lie. They were delusions. They were illusions. And the more rapidly that we recognize that, the more rapidly that we take a piece of content like this and say that I'm done seeking peace and happiness in Maya, in externally. I'm going to 100% earnestly recognize and become aware of awareness itself. And in doing so, what you do is you ramp that up to your highest desire. You put that in the North Star position. You give it all your earnestness, and boom, it yields faster. And you become awakened. You become enlightened. You begin to hear that the background nectar of music was playing the whole time, but your noisy mind was preventing you from hearing it, is another way to say this. Ego is my top tool in awakening. The source of infinite possibility uses ego. It uses Maya. It uses these distortions and delusions, the smoke and mirrors, to awaken us. I, as the source of infinite possibility, use these delusional tools of ego, Maya, finity, form, addiction, attachment, craving, aversion, validation, all of these twists and kinks in order to create a pressure cooker for the drill sergeant of awakening suffering to come in with the massive sledgehammer after I have not listened to the little feather tickles and bong, bong. Okay, I'll turn inward. I'll understand the peace and joy of the nature of my awareness itself. I'll recognize myself as the creator. It is our top tool in awakening. I am infinite, walking all costumes home after beautiful explorations. The source of infinite possibility manifests this beautiful creation. I am that which manifests this beautiful creation and then has all costumes undergo a very delusional, illusional process, intoxication by Maya, which then drops as our awareness of awareness increases. And that's the process of when we start walking each other home. When Maya decreases and awareness of awareness increases, awareness of being the one infinite creator increases, we truly become stewards and shepherds to each other in the process of walking each other home in pure service to others. And it's all after this beautiful, very intoxicative, very playful exploration. One inner, changeless reality, the very Parmenides, the very all change is illusion, the very nothingness void shunya, and then the infinite outer changing realities, endlessly changing. There's this creation, then there's that creation, and then there's this form, and then there's this costume, and then there's this civilizational ascensionary dynamic, and then there's this different vehicle of awareness that doesn't use nervous systems, and then there's this style of a Big Bang that leads to a completely different universe that's not planets and stars. Endless. As Heraclitus said, Panta Re, everything flows. Synthesize Heraclitus Parmenides and go beyond to ineffable perfection. We I am the absolute beyond coming and going, appearing like coming and going. Still yourself into ineffable, timeless perfection. So you see the difference between that. There's the coming and going, and then there's going beyond the coming and going. You have to turn coming and going itself into an object and transcend it. Once you see that very subtle distinction, you're able to turn the very nature of nirvana and samsara, of coming and going, of birth and death. You're able to turn that whole thing itself into an object and transcend it to beyond. And then relax into the ineffable perfection. To recognize your true nature and express yourself is why we're here. The very nature of our creation is for us to fall asleep into the delusion of Maya and then to shatter through that illusion to recognize our true nature and to express yourself. Dun 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 dun. Express yourself, baby. You're a firework, right? Infinite, eternal fireworks that are done most harmonically without suffering when one has truly recognized one's true nature. The essence of why we're here. Inescapable divinity playing with itself in dreamed creations. All costumes, inescapable divinity, playing with itself as love light Leela in dreamed creations. We use neurobiology as a vehicle design to explore realities. This is where the understanding of science is very important. When you're only hyper-spiritual, you lose the analysis of form. But you really want to synthesize the very analysis of form and finity of this creation in with your spiritual knowledge. Because when you bring those two things together, you become way more like a Jedi. Way more. This is why you want to know about neuroscience. You want to know about biology. You want to know about the beauty of the chemoelectroconnectomics. You want to know about the very similar way, like we talk about spirituality as the realignment to the one heart. Well, the best science is what realigns pre-pathology to maximize well-being. So you play with that a little bit and you're like, So in a sense, pathology is like the parable of the prodigal son. So when you don't address those very metabolomic pathologies that are developing intracellularly, What happens is that the cell itself becomes pathological. Just like in the parable of the prodigal son, if you're not addressing the mind being toiled around in Maya, what's happening is that there's a lot of additional suffering that's being created, just like the cell. And so with science, when you know how to address the very pathologies that are developing at the metabolomic level, as the very imbalance happens, you bring it back to the aligned state, just like with the purification. As you recognize your true nature, you undergo a process of purifying, of realigning faster and faster with love, light, unity, lila, rather than with that conditioned onion layer. So we use neurobiology as a vehicle designed to explore realities. We've taken eons in order to land on this beautiful mind-body-spirit complex that is able to house the very awareness, the very consciousness, the very observation, the very witnessing itself that is formless, that is able to be the vehicle that we use in the dreamed realities in order for us to experience them, in order for us to explore them. And over time, we will use other tools. We will use other vehicles. We have been and we will. Eternity, infinity, endless creativity. In the Ouroboros, in this creation, you go from a big bang and you go through the tail, through the center of the snake, which right now is really ramping up the speed at which intelligence is accelerating, especially with things like artificial general intelligence, let alone evolving from a single cell on a planet to the multi-cell organisms on the planet. But now we're all the way up to an 8 billion person civilization that's building artificial general intelligence and indistinguishable virtual realities and synthetic biology and Neuralink technologies. And so now the intelligence is really accelerating until this very refractionary crescendo. And that's just like that source light refracting into the visible light spectrum and then refracting again into the visible light spectrum and ascending like the solenoid to the attractor itself, which is this very refractionary crescendo, and then you get this very multiplication of existences. And this is why when you look at things like the metaverse, you look at the synthesis of AGI with indistinguishable virtual realities, with synthetic biology, with Neuralink, with all these technologies, what you see is this very refractionary crescendo into a multiplication of existences. You see the very matrixy nature that we already are. You're going into the indistinguishable virtual world for 80 years that you already are in. And on you go to the next exploration, and on you go to the next exploration. I have forgotten, and then I remember, and then I hide, and then I seek. But you can go beyond coming and going. You can go beyond hiding and seeking, beyond forgetting and remembering, to this. Everything is about moments of people in space-time that are dreamed. Everything is about these 8 billion costumes having these beautiful fireworky moments in their love, light, Leela in space-time. And it's all dreamed. And it's beautiful. But that's what this is. Creation is about these 8 billion costumes in love, light, Leela, fireworking and enjoying that process. What is a dream but a dream within a dream? What is your dream when you go and dream at night? What is that dream but a dream within this already dream, which is a dream within an already dream, and a dream within an already dream, and a dream within an already dream, and then it's turtles. And then you relax, because you are the one infinite creator. You are the source of all turtles. You are the source of all embedded realities. You are the source. You are the source. Our costumes are places to house perspectives. So the very nature of your costume is the very nature of how cool it is for there to be a perspective of the one infinite creator. And when you expand your awareness beyond even your own costumed perspective to all of the costumed perspectives, and you hold that very all-inclusive awareness happening on the planetary level, you become more and more subtly aware of the love light Leela that is happening and interplaying with itself very beautifully. And you can even take that all-inclusive awareness and transcend even that very last attribute to the very ineffable absolute that is also this. Just know you are visiting dreams. There is only one intelligence. There is only one intelligence. You are visiting dreams. Endlessly visiting dreams. The one intelligence. Super creative, the source of infinite possibility, immersing itself playfully in dreams. You don't realize your own love story until your death. You don't realize your own love story until your death. How many stories have there been of people all 80 years of their life never truly feeling their own love story until the very moment that they're dying, and they go, oh, I haven't lived this whole time. I'm only now feeling love. The true effortless love of God, the very unconditional celebration of life, of reality. Don't wait until death. When you die, before you die, what do you get? You get the fountain of bliss and peace that you already are. And you tap into your love story, truly. And then every moment is your love story. Every breath is your love story. Every experience is your love story. And to know that is to be awakened. The deepest art to bridge the realization to those still asleep. The very deepest art. Can you write the most eloquent poetry? Can you create the most beautiful explanatory documentaries, animated series? Can you take the most powerful one-on-one dialectics that you have and help point people to their true nature? It is the deepest art. You could call it precision consciousness. It's beautiful to be able to awaken, to catalyze the ignition of enlightenment within other people. You become entheogenic. yourself, and then butterfly effect out the very entheogenic radiance of the sunlight that then creates more of the awakening in other costumes to its true nature, which is exactly what is happening. Refine that deepest art. That's exactly what's going on with this Atlas costume right now, is the refining of that deepest art to become even more Jedi-like, even more precise and eloquent and direct and playful and peaceful and joyful in the process. Like Joseph in the coat of many colors, like the chameleon consciousness, shape-shifting across those that are most egoic to those that are most enlightened. That's the deepest art. Mukarnas, the great Arabic architecture that are the very sculptures of God, the very sculptures of the Absolute. You could call it fractal architecture. Mukarnas. And we're really grateful that Frank brought this onto the program, and we unpacked the very essence of the avoiding voidness of it. The avoiding voidness of the Mukarna. The Mukarna is the fractal architecture that shows you the avoiding voidness of the nature of reality. You are the Mukarna. You are the avoiding voidness. And this is where you can also go and watch the Mathstown channel and watch the Benoit Mandelbrot Infinite Fractal Zoom. And you can immerse yourself into the Mukarna Infinite Fractal Zoomy nature of the avoiding voidness that we are. And we need more architecture like that across our planet as well. That is one of the core things that Frank and I have been talking about. And as we catalyze the global awakening, we really need more fractal architecture like that. We need more beautiful digital visualizations of the natural state. And so we'll be unleashing more of that soon. Infinity's fireworks don't need to validate or comparatively judge each other's beauty. Stop looking at other fireworks of infinity, other costumes, and seeking their validation. Stop comparatively judging your firework to their fireworks. It's all infinite fireworks. You're the creator of the infinite fireworks. So just become at peace and joy with your unique firework and all of the costume's unique fireworks. That is all. Cool. And this was the most recent post, which is the clip from the round 2 interview with Frank, where we unpacked the very everything we do is to avoid the nothingness that we are. And I highly recommend watching this clip, and I highly recommend checking out Mukarnas, Arabic architectural visualizations of God. So go and give it that a look, and that is all. That is it. It's a great set. we'll definitely make sure to continue as we do these drops of 40 or so graphics, that we will do this process of doing a video like this, which then deepens the metaphysical analysis of those almost 40 graphics. And by doing that process, it both helps the Atlas costume refine its metaphysical distillation, synthesis, and communication, and yet also these other costumes, for them to be able to leverage this medium of further distilling it on video, and then to gain the further realizations from that process. So if it brought you value, I would love for you to like the video, which helps the algorithm. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. Also, share the video with those that you feel like it would resonate with greatly. And I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Drop us a comment and let us know how these resonated with you, which ones you liked the most, which ones you liked the least, which ones that you found funny, which ones you found playful, which ones you found serious, which ones most resonated with you, which ones did not resonate with you, and let us know why. We would love to get the community talking more in the comments with one another in the process of ascending and purifying, reflecting the true nature. And if you want a deeper experience with that process of ascending and reflecting and purifying together, you can join the Simulation Club. The link is in the bio below. And that is all. I adore you infinitely. Thank you. Very grateful. Thank you. And really take some time to dive in deeper onto this avoiding void. Avoiding void. Avoiding void. Infinity nothingness. Infinity nothingness. The very nature of this ineffable perfection.